We are recording.
Good morning, everybody. My name is William Mercado, and I am the president of the Fair Oaks Village Enhancement Committee and have been so since January of 2018. I wanted to thank you for joining us this morning on these live village updates that we're doing. Our intention in doing these are to let the community know what we're planning, the types of things that we're trying to do, and hopefully get you involved and bring you along with us. So everybody will be muted during this conversation that we'll have during these presentations, and but we encourage you to use the chat function down below to send us your questions, and don't wait till the end to send your questions. As you think about something, go ahead and include it in the chat or a comment. And at the end of the presentations, we'll have a Q&A session. So for this morning, what we have for you is we're bringing Bob Sowers. We have Bob Sowers with us this morning from the Historical Society, and he'll be giving us an update, followed by a Park District update from Mike Aho. This will be the third one he's done now. And after that, Nan, our FOBIC secretary, will give us a summary of the social, the spring social that FOBIC just had, followed by the barbecue fundraiser event that we're planning. And hopefully Dominic Adorno can join us for that. If not, then Nan will give us a summary on that. And then lastly, Keith, our treasurer, will give us an update on the Oktoberfest event that we're planning. I wanted to say again, as I've said in each one of these presentations, that we have lots of ideas. We have things that we're trying to start off, and enhancement projects, etc. But we need help. And in particular, we need help in terms of bodies. We need people to volunteer. This is an all volunteer organization. So we'd appreciate if you could do that. To do that, to get in touch with us and let us know what your interests are, you could just go to our website, fobic.org, and go to the Get Involved tab. And there you can either volunteer, donate, or if you're an organization and want to partner with us, you can do so through there as well. Okay, so let's see, I am almost up on my 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Bob Sowers. Bob?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I went to sleep, but I'm here. I'm here primarily, and frankly, to listen and learn more or less about your organization and maybe some of the other organizations. I feel that we as a history group we're losing out a bit, not being able to partner as well as we could by getting in touch, communication, whatever, with the other organizations. So I am in the midst of trying to learn what you folks do and how we can link up with you more often. We actually closed, as you know, somewhere back in March of 2020. So we've lost a year. And we had a lot of goals last year, and part of that was getting to be a little more virtual and digital in our operation, and yet try to keep, the quaintness of what our little society was and will continue to be. So anyway, in starting out, we're just open Saturdays from 10 to 2, and we're trying to ride along with the CDC's protocol, and we're getting very few visitors at this juncture, primarily the visitors from next door at the sandwich shop. And but where we are, we have purchased a lot of new tables. We have updated our scrapbooks greatly. We have actually enhanced our website so that we have just about everything we do on the website, and we have most all of our pictures. We are adding all the time. As you walk into our center, it's very small. And so what we have done with our thoughts the last year or so is try to tout our entire village as our museum. And not that we own it or anything, but we just feel that much of what people want to see is what existed in our village, you know, starting in 1895. And so many of the buildings, fortunately, are still there. And we've put a walking tour on our website, which many throughout some of the monument, the bluffs, the triangle, things like that. And yes.
Hello. Hello.
It sounds like we may have temporarily lost Bob. And
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. I'll finish quickly. Go ahead. I just had some things. Can I talk now?
Why don't you take your call and we'll let Mike continue and then we'll come back to you, Bob, okay?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Mike, you should be able to screen share if you'd like to jump in.
Okay, hey, well, thank you all, and you should be seeing my screen here. So
It's very fuzzy.
very fuzzy. I'm going to reset it so you can have a chance to see it.
Denise is on here.
Oh, that's nice. She's on video, does she know that?
Don't know why it's fuzzy.
All right, guys, I gotta go to work. You come back in, Jesse?
All right, you should be able to see that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mike, you're still fuzzy. Do you want me to present from this side?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
Let's just see if let me scroll through quick and see if it sets itself. Did that clear it?
Seems to be better now. Yeah.
Okay, great. Hey, thank you all again for showing up. I'm Mike Aho, the District Administrator for Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District. I'm going to be talking about the Arts and Entertainment Plan for the Village of Plaza Park area that we're renovating. A quick background here on this. In November of 2018, the voters of Fair Oaks passed Measure J, which was a $26.9 million bond measure. It was approved with a 68.9% yes vote from the citizens, so it had a lot of support. There were three major projects that were on the ballot, part of the ballot language. The first one is.
Do you want me to put on my earphones?
The first one is the renovations and improvements to Village Park and the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater. The second was increased parking at Phoenix Park and construction of 2 girls softball fields. And then the third was construction development of a community recreation center. As I mentioned, we'll be talking about the renovation and improvements to Village Park and the Veterans Memorial Amphitheater. What you're seeing here is the actual rendering of the plan for the Village Plaza Park area. And it's a really unique area. And what we're looking for in our plan is to look at our active spaces or our programming spaces and determine how we should be programming them so we're not losing money and we're not going to bankrupt the Recreation and Park District. It's a very critical plan. So it's a strategic master plan of operations is what we're talking about here. The programming spaces that we'll be talking about are right here in Plaza Park, this area here. This outside stage right here, it's a new facility. The Black Box Theater, which is right here in this space. The community rooms, which are these rooms here and this black box room, it's a combination. The amphitheater, which is right here, including the amphitheater stage. This is a retractable door. So when it's closed, this is a black box theater. When it's open, it's the amphitheater as we currently know it. The arts and crafts room or building right up here is another programming or active space. The community clubhouse right here, including the stage inside, Village Hall, which is down here, and then the band shell, and finally Village Park. Those are all of our active spaces that we're looking at and trying to program and what we'll be doing in the next number of years coming up. Interestingly enough, we have 5 programmable stages. This outdoor stage here, the amphitheater as we currently know it, the Black Box Theater, which is number 3 stage, the number 4 stage inside here, the community clubhouse, and then the 5th stage, the band shell. So it's a substantial amount of performance opportunities in this renovation of the park. So this is a rendering of the Plaza Park area, and I mentioned the plaza area here. This is the programmable space that we're talking about, this hardscape here, if you will. And we still have some green grasses over here and over here, but this surface, to be able to program it, we have to keep this in a hardscape or some kind of hardscape. So we aren't repairing the turf monthly throughout the heavy use season. And in the rain season, we can still activate this space, even though this may be really wet over here. And then there's that stage, that outdoor stage that I had talked about. So some of the things that we believe we can do in the plaza area include an artist market. Maybe we do this monthly, we're not sure yet. We are going to be working for the next year on our programming, the specific programming for that. But one of the areas that we're talking about is an artist market in that plaza area. We also could be holding these types of activities in the plaza itself, kind of informal dance, music, whatever it might be. Also some kids events. We really want to look at all types of events. And this area, the plaza area, would be the free to low cost area. And so it's really not going to be a charge area, except for something, for an example, the artist market, we would charge the vendors to set up there. But the public would probably come in for free. So, and it'd be more of a pop-up type of nature, if you will, where these events, we may be saying they're monthly, but it's going to feel like they're just sort of happening organically. And that's kind of critical to this front area, that it feels like it's a real extension of the community as a whole. As mentioned, the stage right here, this is going to be wired for sound. It'll be available for small performances. We anticipate that most of those performances will be free. And we also think this is a great location for the Village Christmas tree right here. So the actual entrance to the amphitheater, the lobby area, and I'll show that in a minute, is right over here. So it has a separate entrance, and the main theatrical, the amphitheater entrance is over here where it currently is on that side. And we'll show that in a bit. So as I mentioned, a variety of different events, including exercise classes in the park or the plaza area, maybe the weekly small performances, concerts, and those would be kind of local musicians that would be up there on the stage. And then the amphitheater, as we know it, it's going to get a renovation on the stage area. It'll actually be ADA accessible, sound and lighting improvements, all those types of things, bathrooms for the actors and actresses. And I went over all that last month, so I'm not going to touch too heavily on that. But We also are looking at other theatrical groups coming in, for an example, doing kids plays, or maybe special needs performance. Maybe there's a group of special needs folks that want to do a performance on our stage, on the stage. We are going to continue our operations with our theater association and our long-standing relationship with them. They will continue to do shows as well. And then we have the Comedy Under the Stars currently that the district has been doing. We'll continue to do those and expand upon them. And then we hope in those unused times that we would have rentals in there, including maybe high school graduations or weddings, things of that nature. And the music concerts that you may or may not have participated in over there in the amphitheater. These would be ticketed events or rentals, so they will be a charge for those. And then the active space, also the band shell. We have concerts in the park, and then movies. We'll continue to do those, and then we may have additional classes off of that band shell stage, and we'll hopefully activate that space more as well. And the other active space, as I mentioned, the clubhouse stage. Currently, we have silent movies going on in there. We've had that happening. The board has challenged us, staff, to expand the use of that organ and to really get dynamic in its programming and what other types of programs we will do. So hopefully we'll have a few more programs in there besides the twice a year silent movie. And then performances, small performances, kids groups, Christmas pageants, silent movies, as I mentioned. The stage will have new sound and lighting, and it will be very user-friendly for groups. And then the black box theater right behind here, when these doors are open back here, that's the amphitheater seating back behind here. When the doors are closed, it becomes a programmable space right here, available for year-round use. And it could be Christmas concerts, as I mentioned, kids shows, educational events, music performances, any variety of things in that space. And then the community rooms. These are the ones when this is the amphitheater right here, the seating, and this is the doors that would close. This becomes a large community room. This is 3 community rooms right here with retractable doors. So it could be one larger room or one medium room and one small room or 3 small rooms. It has the hallway accessibility here for connectivity. It has a lobby area, the entrance, as I mentioned, from outside right here. This is this outdoor stage, the small outdoor stage, as we talked about earlier. It has bathrooms and all the other facilities necessary to make this very usable space for the public. This is the entrance to the amphitheater right here where it currently is, and it will remain there with some enhancements. It'll really flash or splash the entrance a little bit more. So we have 4 rooms there. They'll be great for classes, workshops, and breakout rooms. With all of those plans and all of those spaces, we realize that we have to be very careful and we have to be very strategic in what we do to be able to afford to do these types of programs and operate these types of facilities in a way that makes sense for the community. So we went out and found a firm that actually would provide us with an operational plan or a strategic operational plan so we can help reduce our subsidy that the taxpayers pay for this facility. This facility will never be a revenue producer. It will not cover all of its cost. We just can't afford to lose a lot of money. And that's kind of how government operates in some of these facilities like this, that we are operating for community benefit. And that's what we want to do, but we don't want to be in the operational black so far that that we could potentially, or red, excuse me, that we potentially could bankrupt the district or affect other services. Throughout the master plan, a couple of things came out, and these are important for us, that Fair Oaks is an eclectic community and should retain that as a draw. We want to be able to enhance that draw and retain that flavor of what Fair Oaks is all about, specifically the village. We also recognize that there's gaps in our programming. And those gaps right now are teenagers, young professionals, and singles between the ages of 20 and 50 years old. We don't do a very good job of servicing those groups, and we need to. This facility is for all folks in Fair Oaks. We also know that there's new enterprises in Fair Oaks taking root that are encouraging additional foot traffic. Those would be things like Shangri-La, Brahma, the coffee shop, the brew pub. Those types of things are drawing more and more people and a different sort of crowd into the village. And we need to recognize that and be part of that kind of transition as well, while still retaining what Fair Oaks is really all about. Some of the traditional Main Street businesses like the salons and antique shops have been reluctant to change because it really makes sense because of parking. For the village to change, not for them to change, but for the village to change because of the parking. And our job as programmers is to provide the right size of programming at the right times, so parking isn't as much of a challenge. It's still going to be a challenge. It's always something that's going to be a challenge. I'm working on the parking committee with FOVEC because of that. And we recognize that parking will always be a challenge in the village, and there really isn't any way around that. We have to embrace the fact that we are an eclectic community and that parking will always be something. We believe that our programming is an economic driver as well, that we're a multiplier for local businesses and the community as a whole. We make Fair Oaks desirable. We're the largest property owner in the village, and we are the most active based on the fact that we have a lot of programs. And so we want people and businesses to be able to tee off or benefit from that type of services that we provide. So we came up with some guiding principles, and these are essential. These are what we're going to is that the programs need to be committed to celebrating our community. And we as a district want to plan for a vibrant future and embrace what makes Fair Oak unique in the selections of our programs and services. Our programs need to be active, they need to be central, and they need to be collaborative. The village is the centerpiece of the district of Fair Oaks, and it drives social engagement, economic impact for Fair Oaks, and even neighboring communities, whether it be Carmichael, Orangevale, or any of the others around us. Our programs need to be diverse, pragmatic, and relevant. We want to support programming that attracts and engages the entire community. And we talked about those gaps in services earlier, and it's critical that we service those folks as well. Inclusive to all, the programs need to be inclusive to all.
Mike,
We want to strive to sustain facilities and programs that are welcoming, affordable, and inclusive.
Mike,
then-
I apologize. Your
Yeah.
screen is unreadable.
Yes, completely. It's gibberish.
So I'm gonna
You go ahead
suggest,
and take it. Yeah, go ahead and take it.
I could,
I think I can live without it. I'll stop sharing. Go ahead and pop on there, Keith.
okay.
Why is it unreadable? So IT's setting that up. As I mentioned, the programs need to be proactive. We need to ensure that the facilities and the programs remain relevant to our community. And we need to be testing those programs on a continually basis and adjusting them as necessary. So we don't want to become stagnant. We know it's important to continue to do things like Chicken Festival, for an example, but can there be elements in Chicken Festival that are changing and a little bit more dynamic in what
there
they're
we
doing?
go.
So anyway, those are our guiding principles. Thank you, Keith. Next slide, please. So what does that mean for us as Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District? It means that in these facilities, we're going to become what's called the host and the presenter. In the past, we have been the landlord, which basically means everybody else is doing the programs and we are providing the facility. So we're going to flip that up just a little bit, where we're going to be the host and the presenter. What that means is that we're going to intentionally provide direction for the cultural atmosphere. So the programs that don't fit in those guiding principles, we will discourage or not have, depending on what's happening. It doesn't mean we won't have them, but we're really going to put these things through the filter and say, is this something that makes sense for our guiding principles? We also will be sharing the risk. In the past, as a landlord, we didn't share the risk, but now we're going to share the risk, which means we're going to help promote, we're going to help sell tickets, we're going to help by providing additional services as needed for those types of programs and for our partners. So we're going to go into it with both feet and really assist those programs in being successful and the village as a whole to be successful. We're going to engage in our direct programming. We have some like concerts or comedy under the stars, but we'll be doing more. We'll be using it to try and fill in where necessary those spaces that currently aren't activated or they're activated not as much as they should be. We're also going to use those formal spaces, as I mentioned, those active planning spaces to drive ticketed events. And some of those ticketed events will be premium price tickets. For an example, inside the amphitheater when we have a tribute band, those will be tickets that cost money. But we'll also have ticket program areas that will not cost money. For an example, we talked about the plaza area and the band shell. We're also going to be able to provide support for more community users. And we're even able to provide facility waiver grants for users that align with the guiding principles, so they don't have to pay for the facility use. We're going to be able to absorb that with some of our partners and with some of the activities, depending on what they are. And then we want to actively pursue other users for those surplus dates, those dates that aren't being used. Next slide, please. So a couple of new revenue streams that you need to be aware of. One is the ticket fees. These could include a surcharge on rentals. The estimation is that the ticket fees have a $2 surcharge on them. It's collected on all tickets sold, and it could be about 9% of our earned revenue. And then the concessions. That we work with a provider, a contractor, or depending on how we do this, and it hasn't been decided yet, but concessions should be about 14% of our total earned revenue for this facility. Next slide, please. Here's a breakdown of what this looks like. And I need to go backwards just a tiny bit here and mention that the Board of Fair Oaks Recreation and Park District, their last meeting this April, has approved this operational plan. They will receive it in their May meeting with any additional public comments. So if you do want to comment on it at the third Wednesday in May at 6 o'clock, we will be having a meeting, and they will receive and file this presentation from AMS about the operational plan. So this is an approved plan by the board going forward. We are as staff responsible for the operations of it within the guidelines that the board and the plan provide. So I'll go ahead and go back to that past slide for a second. As you can see in this one, we have revenues of approximately $394,000 estimated. And then we have operating expenses of $390,000 for a net operating result, not a profit, net operating result of $4,000. Why is that not a profit? Because you do not see the indirect costs, the accounting, the marketing, my time, for an example, the board's time, some of our maintenance and operations, our replacement costs, all those types of things are part of this, which you're not seeing on here, but are real costs to a real facility. And we don't want this facility to deteriorate by not providing those essential services that we have to provide to maintain the high quality that hopefully the community wants and desires. So the final stage of this, and we're working on that part now, is the next phase, which is where we really engage the community in a Patreon, where our users, we really cultivate our users and have them become part of this entity. And maybe it's a fundraising event, maybe it's any variety of different things that really says, hey, community, this is your facility. Help us to manage and maintain it at the level that we all want it to be at. And so that's going to happen after we get going. This plan could take us up to 2 years to get going after we open. We've got about 1.5 years to get ready. And then just that momentum of this thing happening is going to take that kind of time. So that's it in a nutshell. Next slide. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those during the question and answer time. Or there's my there's my contact information and my phone and my email if you wish to contact us. And also the board meeting, as I mentioned, the third Wednesday in May at 6 o'clock. It is a Zoom meeting. You can get on our website and find that. And it'll give you the information necessary for that meeting.
So I'll call you back in about a
Thank you,
half
Mike.
hour.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, I know
Thanks,
we've
Ben.
got a guest on with us this morning. Vanessa is a publisher of a magazine in Gold River, and she needs to leave shortly. So I'm going to ask if we take a quick departure from our agenda and give her just a moment to speak about what she's planning to do here in Fair Oaks. Vanessa, you should be able to.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Some of you I've connected with briefly. My name is Vanessa Elmis, and I publish 2 magazines for 2 communities close to Fair Oaks. One is Rancho Cordova, a little sort of micro pocket of Rancho Cordova, the new 95742 neighborhoods, Anatolia, Cavala Ranch, and Sunridge. But a little bit closer to home for you guys is Gold River Living. It's a publication that's been in print over 5 years. So I don't know if you can see this, but I am planning to bring a publication like this to Fair Oaks. And it's going to be Fair Oaks Living. And we publish a magazine every single month that goes exclusively to residents in the neighborhood. So it gets direct mailed. And then for our sponsors, we have the capability to adapt your ad into Facebook and Google display. So we are a really awesome 2-touch process. The hook and how we get people to open and read it is that we put a family who lives in the neighborhood on the cover. So if you think of something a little bit more citywide, like Sacramento magazine with like a coffee cup or like a plastic surgeon on the cover, we make someone who lives in the community like a rock star for the month. And then we put an article about them inside. And then everything inside is all very community specific, like Boy Scouts, recipes, crafters. It really is the community's publication. So even though I have 2 magazines that are right next to each other, they really take on the personality, if you will, of the neighborhood. So what I would really like to do is just encourage you to just reach out to me, and if we haven't already met. And my intention is really to make the magazine for, by, and about the people. So I'm looking for all kinds of things like content and sponsors. And I have a little perk I'd like to offer up to the FOVEC members, a little bit of an extra discount. And like I said, we're going to print for our first issue in July. And I'd be happy to put my contact details in the chat if anyone would like to reach out to me. So thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me just a moment of your time.
Thank you, Vanessa. Bob, are you still with us?
I am. I've enjoyed what I've been listening to.
So, Bob,
Go ahead.
I've put up a poll for those who are on Video Connect, and I would just ask people, take a moment and test your knowledge of Fair Oaks Village. And while they're doing that, Bob, maybe you could just finish up your presentation, since we cut you a little bit short.
Okay. Again, I was just explaining some of the things we were doing starting out this year. And to add to that, we are trying to expand on our tours of Fair Oaks with tour guides, advertise a little bit more on that. But on the other thing I wanted to mention, we do need capable volunteers to work on some of the projects we have within the center. We'd like to use our building more. And we'd like to see some real activity in our building where people are doing things, so that when visitors show up and they can see that it's an active society, and we are happily doing the research and things we want to do for the village. But to extend beyond that, we also, since we do have a building, we want to help the other groups in our partnership, as long as they have things that they need to get the message out to groups like ours. We have the facility, we have a person there on the days we're open, and we can have some of your brochures. We'd like to have the restaurant menus. We would like to have the park department's, information available. And we would like to be part of communicating to the visitors in Fair Oaks. And we have the facilities to do that, and people that are quite knowledgeable about, things that are going on in Fair Oaks and the buildings, the know a little bit about, our heritage and, what we're doing there. And so anyway, we want to be a bigger player than we are. And I don't know if Mike is still there, but I just wanted to extend this to Mike, that we would like to be a participant in a lot of the park activities, because I think we have a lot of things that we can show and do that are of historical nature. But Mike, we're budgeted to certain things, and we sometimes are unable to participate in things we want to, and or utilize the buildings and the park department's facilities because of the costs. And anything you can do to help subsidize that through funds that you have would be helpful to us, so that we can do more for you and with you. So we also have one other thing, and I'll cut this short. We also have a blog that our board puts out every week. It comes out every Friday, and we send it to our 250 members. And we would like to share information with others in Fair Oaks. So if any of your groups or the park department wants us to do it, we will leave a section open every Friday and just put information from our other partners. And we can put, a little paragraph from each one of you if you want, and it could go out every Friday, and it's a way of disseminating information to a lot more people than probably we're doing now or you're doing now. I think since we're all working towards one goal to make a better Fair Oaks, we want to at least do our part to be a part of all that. So we're here to stay, and we want our group to be a sustainable group. And for that reason, we're looking for volunteers so that they can learn and be able to take over the board positions and the community positions that we have available. And I'm sure every other group in Fair Oaks, they're looking for the same thing. So I will leave it at that and just thank everybody for inviting me, because I'm picking up a lot of information today that I didn't know before. So it was a learning experience for me. And so anyway, I'm ready to work together, and I'll just listen from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey,
Bob.
Bob, Bob, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. What is your capacity? I mean, I could bring over, a truckload full of stuff, but I don't know how much you want and what you do with it or where you would put it. I don't even know if you have any answers to that, but
I do, yeah.
So Barbara,
How
can
many-
I ask you to give Bob a
Who is
call
it?
directly after this?
sure,
And just
I'll do that. Fine.
perfect. Thank you
Yeah,
so
More than
much.
happy to.
we have taken a couple of Gold River groups on our Fair Oaks tours, and we would look forward to working with the villagers of Fair Oaks. Great Gold River. I used to live there for a long time, and it would like to tie in Gold River as much as we can. We're only separated by a bridge, and so anything we can do to help. This year I can do a little more than I have been. I've been a docent for 3 years, but this last year and a half I've been the president, and so that ends in about 6 months. And I'm looking forward to adding whatever I can to opening up new avenues where we can, get more people to enjoy what we do and we enjoy what they do. So if that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
All
Bob,
right,
that was
thank you.
actually Barbara out of the Fair Oaks Theater Festival, and so I'm going to let you two connect later. We need to move
Barbara?
on. Nan, are you able to kick in here? And if everyone else could mute, I would appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Nan. I'm the secretary of FOVEC, and that picture of me is hilarious. It's at the social, just kind of showing a little bit of the fun that we had. So to recap our social that we had, this first social since the pandemic started, so in over a year. It was really lots of fun. We had about 32 people attend. We were at the Brahma. So what we like to do with our socials, the purpose for them is for people to come out and get to know us, FOVEC, kind of see what we're doing, and also get to know one another, as well as bring business to our local restaurants, establishments, so in the village, so that people in our organization and also community members who maybe haven't tried them before get to come and have a taste of it. It's a free event. This one, the Brahma served appetizers, and they had a couple special drinks for us. And then people could buy additional drinks if they wanted. You can see there, William talked a little bit about some of our accomplishments, and those binders that are those clipboards that I'm holding, those were for volunteer signups. Like William said, you know, we have a lot of things going on, and we always could use more help. We have all kinds of different areas that we can use volunteers. The parking project is something that Mike talked about as well. And we all know parking is a huge issue in Fair Oaks. You can get involved with that. We also are starting a merchant advocacy subcommittee, which will be like a merchants group to support one another. And with all the new businesses opening in the village, that is looking to be really promising. We also could use help with the website. Keith has done a lot of it now, but we could use moderators for the forums. Our website does have forums, content oversight, story writers, and a webmaster. So if you have any interest in any of those things, let us know as well. We also do fundraising to help do these events for the village and promote the village. Many of you may or may not know, but in 2013, we did the streetscape. We actually got a grant for that. And that's another area where we could use help, is in writing grants and obtaining grants. And then also arts and entertainment is another subcommittee that we're starting, and that's to continue to have events in the village and draw more people in. So we're really aligned with the Park District in that kind of way, and that, you know, we're all about the village. That makes FOVEC different from other organizations in Fair Oaks, is we're completely village focused. We also could use a volunteer coordinator. You can see we have lots of volunteer opportunities. We need someone to coordinate all of those things. And then outreach, and that's helping us get the word out. That's kind of like what we're doing here. We also, you know, actually walk around and talk to the merchants, and we can use help doing that as well. And doing artwork for our events, and helping promote and plan the events, and then also help with actually setting up and tearing down the event. So if any of those things sound like something you want to do, definitely let us know. So that's kind of what our socials are all about. I also wanted to let you know briefly, because is Dominic on, or is he still not here?
Dominic is here.
Oh, okay, then Dominic, we'll talk about the barbecue that we have coming up.
Yeah, right now we have a date that's not set in stone of June 5th barbecue, and we're trying to work around COVID restrictions, head counts, ABC liquor license for the day. We're going to have that held at Mike's house, which is off of, I believe, California Street, across from the California House. We will be looking for volunteers to help us out with that event. Also, Nan and I are heading that up together. We're going to be meeting today to go over, try to finalize some details in regards to it that we can have more to report on later. I'm not sure how many years we've done that event in the past. If anybody can help me out with that.
This will be our third
year. So just a little background on me. This is my first year being involved with FOVIC, and I was just kind of sitting on the sidelines before, and I wanted to take a more active role as a citizen in the community to help out and to get more involved. And so far, I've been really pleased with the board and the people involved, and it's been a great experience. So as more details come out, we'll be looking for volunteers for that event also. But right now it's in a little bit of a flux. We'll probably finalize something by the middle of next week or end of next week and have more details on it, and we'll post it on the website.
Thank you, Dominic. For those of you who didn't know, we're running a little bit of trivia as we go, and appreciate everyone who's participated in the poll. It's always interesting, and we thought, especially since we were featuring the Historical Society today, to learn a little bit about the village. And Nan, I appreciate you sharing these questions with us and helping us with our trivia. Interesting to see how what people know and what they don't. All right. The last thing we wanted to do in our program today is just talk a little bit about an event that is planned for later this year. Many of you have seen this posted on social media, where we are proposing that we do something along the lines of an Oktoberfest in the village. And the approach we're trying to take with this is to be very engaging with the community. The first thing we've done is obviously send out feelers to see if there's enough interest. And based on the feedback, it's been overwhelmingly positive, and there seems to be a lot of interest in doing this. We want this to be inclusive, and so we've reached out to all of the local bars and restaurants in the village, and we're going to be meeting with them to make sure that if we do this, it's in collaboration with them and in something that they can support. Based on their feedback, then we'll go out and reach out once again to the other merchants and the residents in the village, just to make sure that if we do this event, that it's something that the community supports and, as Mike pointed out earlier, doesn't create a problem with parking or any other issues. And then finally, as Bob was highlighting earlier, we need to ensure we've got enough volunteers to pull this off. The thing that we're all learning is that Fair Oaks is blessed with a wide number of volunteer organizations, and to some extent, we're all competing for all of your time and attention. And so we need to be good about working together and helping each other, and also getting more people engaged if we hope to pull these things off. The one thing that several people have mentioned is that we've gone through a pretty extensive revitalization of our website. And so between these events, I would encourage people, if you haven't already, Google Fair Oaks Village, and you inevitably will find our website, or you can go to fovac.org. And one of the features that we particularly like is that we have this thing called the forum. And the forum is very much like Facebook. It's an opportunity for members to be able to post. And assuming that Zoom is working, you should see a screen right now where you've just seen some of the engagement with the community as people are learning about Oktoberfest and presenting their comments. And so we're trying to use that as a tool to be able to gain information. Terry is pointing out that we also have a Facebook page, and we look at that as well. So we understand that people look in many different places to get their information anymore, and we're trying our best to cover all those bases. If your question happens to get lost, don't ever be afraid to use our contact form, or just talk to any one of the board members because we want to hear what you have to say. And so, unless there are any other questions, this is the point in the meeting where we like to open it up for Q&A. And we've had some questions come in both through the forum and through the chat box. And Mike, unfortunately, a lot of them are directed in your way. So if you want to kind of read through those and answer what you can, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just cruised through them just a second ago, and most of it was about the timing for construction and things like that. So I'll do the best I can for that. First of all, you all have to realize that we are in a pandemic, and you all know that. But from a planning point of view, all of our work has to be approved, whether it be through SAC Metro Fire, SMUD, our utilities, the county planning, you name it. There's a variety of approvals, and all of those all those approval processes were put into a tailspin about 14 months ago, and they're still kind of recovering from that. So everything's a little slower, and right now we're anticipating being able to start demolition of a couple of the facilities, including the salon building and the amphitheater stage. We're anticipating those starting the end of May. We are actually in another one of those approval processes right now with some hazardous material that we'll have to mitigate or to remove. And so our removal plan is in review at this point in time for that. And it usually doesn't take this long, but again, we're in a unique situation for that to occur. As soon as that's done, then we're allowed to go to bid for these projects. For the demolition, we'll go to bid, 30 days for that bid process. So I'm anticipating the end of May as a possible start date for the demolition at this point in time. In terms of construction, now let me be clear too, on the demolition, we will only be closing the areas that will be demolishing, which include the salon and the amphitheater stage. The rest of the park area will continue to remain open until we actually go to bid and get a bid for the construction of this project. This construction of the project will take about 22 months. So we're looking at approximately 2 years, I'm afraid, how long this is going to take. And so it's going to be a rather slow process. And during that time, we are going to keep the parking open. Not the parking in front of the clubhouse, but the parking along the street. So we will be keeping that parking open. There'll be small closures while we move equipment in and out, for an example, but it won't be long-term closures for that parking. So we hope to be able to not impact the village too greatly with the reduction in parking. And then finally, the construction of the park itself. I don't have a good time frame on that one right now. I keep bumping that thing back. We're working on a water line issue right now with the utilities. And once that's resolved, we should be able to continue to move forward. The part of the projects, what we have is really hard because everything was done kind of piecemeal from the 1940s forward. And so as we unpiece those and try and make them cohesive into one unit, for an example, there were 4 different parcels of this park. We had to consolidate all those parcels. We currently are still working on one of them right now into one unit. And so that becomes the park's property instead of these 4 different units. Actually, one of them we didn't even own, come to find out, but we did clear that up. So anyway, that's the challenge. I anticipate, if we're lucky, construction should start the end of June. But that's still up in the air. So that's what I have.
Looking over our audience, I noticed that we've got a number of different groups represented here. Denise, I see that you're on, and I just wanted to acknowledge that we're working with Rotary, and specifically the youth aspect of Rotary, what's called Interact, who have agreed to help us with the barbecue this year. And so I want to acknowledge and thank you for that. Kim, thank you for joining us from the chamber. Is there anything that you'd like to say? You know, one of the things that we're obviously anxious to do is figure out how do we all work more effectively with the chambers so that we're not, you know, ever competing. We're all working collaboratively to try and make the village and Fair Oaks more successful.
Yeah. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for doing this. And just to give a quick little update on the chamber, for many of you, you may or may not know the chamber is now a virtual chamber. We're the first one in our community as a virtual chamber. But with that, we are in the developing stages of redesigning our entire website to be more user-friendly for our community and our chamber members. And also we are in the process of a new Fair Oaks marketplace that's going to be coming that's going to be very beneficial for our businesses in the community, such as our restaurants and small businesses. So that's going to be probably launched in August, our marketplace that's coming up. But our chamber website hopefully will be up within the next month. Also working with, the group here, but we also have a group that many may not be aware of, which is our FOCAP group, which is our Fair Oaks Community Action Partnership group. That's been a group that's been around for about 7 years now. And that group is actually meeting this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the community gardens today for the first time in a year. But that group also explains a little bit more of the groups in our community. It's been led by Pete Schroeder, and I know William's been there before, and the water district and the cemetery, but it's a chance for all our community, Mike's been there, chance for our community groups to get together and actually see how we can all work together and what is happening in those community groups and how to get the information out to the community of what's happening and who needs volunteers and what events they have. And so it's a great group to work together. And, there's over, I think, 50 different groups in Fair Oaks. So it's very hard to kind of get everybody to be in a one central hub, but hopefully we can all get on the same page and, share our ideas with everybody and get Fair Oaks to be the booming little heartbeat town that everybody loves to have in our village. So I'll have more updates hopefully in the next month for you, but that's where we're at right now with the chamber. And we're really hoping to get back into the community again. I mean, this would be our 72nd year of having Fair Oaks Fiesta this coming Sunday. And unfortunately, due to still the pandemic and the restrictions, we still can't have that event. So we're hoping soon that we can get something going back, because I know I'm getting calls and emails about people wanting to have an event. So hopefully we can have something soon.
Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Charles Nichols asked if he could talk about parking. Charles,
Yes,
are you
can you
there?
hear me okay?
We can.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my name's Charles Nichols. We have the townhouse on the corner of Fair Oaks Boulevard down Main Street there. With the opening of the new restaurants, what they've done on Fair Oaks on the one-way street right there, now they're parking on both sides. I can't even get into my driveway. I've made a phone call to Rich Desmond, so they're working on it. I've also contacted Sheets, who's in charge of our area for the fire department. It's very, very, when you can't get into your own property, it's a problem. And then the other thing too is, if you notice that when the people make that bend on that 45, cars are actually swerving, and they have to come to a 5-mile-an-hour speed limit just not to hit the cars on both sides. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Charles, this is William Mercado, and Nan had passed the information to me, and I actually went by there last night and took a look at the situation. I'm familiar now with what you're talking about, and I'd like to have a discussion to see who you've contacted and how we can help.
Very good. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Do you have my number?
I don't, but I can get that from Nan.
Perfect. Thank you. And then the other question is, when the light was put in on that radius on Fair Oaks Boulevard, who put the light in and when did they do that?
The street light?
The street light.
That was probably done during the 2013 streetscape. I'm pretty sure that was when it was done.
The question I have was that survey, and was it done through any kind of surveying? Because there is no prescriptive rights on that. And the only prescriptive rights we've ever signed off was for a telephone pole on the back end of the property. We didn't sign off on that.
Yeah, well, we're talking to the county about that as well. So
right.
That's
okay. Thank you.
And Charles, William, I gave Charles your number as well.
Okay, very good.
We're almost at our close. Mike, I saw a couple of other questions come in. Maybe you could handle them really quickly. One is regarding the library. And the other was the ability to use the amphitheater while other zones are under construction.
Okay. Is that the old library question? Is it about the
I
old
think so.
library? Okay. I presented to the board probably 5-6 months ago a renovation plan for the old library. It did not get board support, and they tasked me with the with the challenge of what to do with that facility and not spend $975,000. Now that was the quote for the renovation of that facility. The reason why it was so high is because basically accessibility, ADA accessibility. You know the property, you realize that there's some serious challenges with that in that facility. So to make it accessible, that cost had skyrocketed. So they've asked me to address and look at other options, and we're doing that currently. It's probably going to be a public-private partnership on that facility because of the cost of renovation. And the other option is always to sell the property. But it is a board decision, and they will make that determination with our input once we realize what we can do. And then the second question was the amphitheater. Will it be able to be used during that time? And the answer is no, it will not, because we will put construction fencing around the whole project, and it will be things will be happening throughout the entire project's area as we do demolitions and renovations. So no, it will not be.
So we've run out of our time for today. I'd like to thank everyone, both our presenters and our participants. If you find this valuable, then please spread the word. If there's something that we could do to make it more valuable, please contact any one of the FOVAC board members or use our website to submit your comments. This has been live on Facebook, and it will also be available for viewing later on YouTube. And I know some of you had trouble viewing the slides earlier. The slides will also be available on our website. And once again, thank you to all of you, and hope to see you next month on May 26th. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.